Hey guys, Andy Bennett, happy half hour number 10. We got exciting stuff to do. I'm live in the K Bar somewhere in the Commonwealth of Virginia and brought to you by Intox-Detox. And that is all natural hangover remedy products, some of which I need to take right now. I used to do this when I did Drunk News. I used to do synchronize your livers, like instead of synchronize your watches. So I'm actually going to synchronize my liver right now with my pills. And anybody watching, which is a couple people now, go ahead and take your pills if you got some. Take them if you got them. Forced to watch me swallow stuff. Not even in an exciting way. So we got fun stuff to do. My friend Marissa, the scientist, is our guest, and she is right there. How are you doing, Marissa?
I am doing great. How are you?
It's just such a peaceful time. There's nothing going on in the world, you know.
Right.
The birds are singing. Everything's lovely.
Mm-hmm. Nothing to talk about. A gentle rain.
Nothing to talk about, you know. Nothing earth-shattering going on. Yeah, it's everything's absolute chaos, which is why we do this. So like have a break from all the other insanity of the world, from the safety of our homes where, you know, we can just sip mind-numbing cocktails, which leads us to what we're drinking. Marissa is the second guest who actually joined me in drinking the same drink that I'm drinking. I'm hoping we're going to have a trend here. There's a reason why I picked my drink. She's also, because she's a scientist, she's drinking out of a beaker, which is badass. I don't even have a beaker. I got a champagne flute, which is, so what we're drinking is called Death in the Afternoon. And it is a very brave concoction to attempt. Absinthe, which is, they actually, when you were at the store, did you see they have the stronger absinthe, the original formula?
I did. And I wanted to do a quick plug. You know, if you like the taste of absinthe and you like the taste of gin, you know, Hendrix has, it's called Orbium. It's a special blend that they make with wormwood. Fantastic.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yep. We got some chatters here. I always like to engage with chatters. Ahoy, matey. They said ahoy. So obviously they're a pirate in from the port. Okay, so the Death in the Afternoon is the cocktail, and it's absinthe, 1 shot of absinthe, and fill it with 4 ounces of champagne. Any champagne. I'm having the delicious Barefoot Bubbly Brut Cuvée, which is actually, I really like Barefoot wines because they're cheap. And oh yeah, Chuck says Corpse Reviver is also a great cocktail with absinthe in it. I'm a huge fan. But I've been doing, Marissa, I got a book for you to read. Chuck is also a science guy, by the way, big science guy. Chuck Relic. I went to Slippery Rock with him. And Chuck, hang around for a second. We're going to talk about some interesting science stuff that I'm sure you'll have some opinions about. But anyway, so book recommendation, To Have and to Have Another. It's not a book by Hemingway. It's a book about Hemingway's favorite cocktails. And so I had already had the Death in the Afternoon before, but it's in there. So I was like, oh, we got to do that. And I was like, no, I can never find a guest that's cool enough to drink that with me.
It's because you never reached out to me until today.
Well, you're here now. So that's what matters.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so that's what we're drinking. So we will be stone cold drunk in like 5 seconds. So if we're going like 0 to 100 in like 2 sips right now. And I've got my absinthe and my champagne ready to mix up my second drink. But we must move along, as you know, shenanigans are kind of my thing, but we need to also stick to the script. We got to keep things moving. So we're drinking that drink. I will put it in the comments for anybody. It's actually really easy. I'm not going to put it in the comments. 1 shot of absinthe and 4 ounces of champagne. Do it. It's called Death in the Afternoon. I've also had it, Marissa, where I had it in the morning and I added just a splash of OJ. So it
That
was
sounds
like
delicious.
Death in the Morning. Yeah.
I like it.
So it's like
Death
it's like
anytime.
mimosa. You could die at any time. Yeah, exactly.
Who
I love
cares
the
anymore? It's
yeah,
2020.
yeah. We just do whatever we want. No big deal. There's an expression. There's an Irish expression that I love. It's like if you die on a Tuesday, they say he died of a Tuesday. I think that's hilarious. Like, oh yeah, he died of a Tuesday. You know, like that's funny. I have endless supply of tangents in this weird brain of mine, but the toast is comes from Winston Churchill, who I love, huge Churchill fan. And to your point, the Hendrix gin you mentioned,
Hmm.
Winston Churchill was a huge gin drinker. And when he made his martinis, they said that this is how much vermouth he would put in his gin martini. He would just look across the room at the bottle of vermouth and then shake up his martini. That's how much. Yeah. So basically, dude just woke up and would drink gin all day long. So the Winston Churchill toast. Anybody that's got a drink, have a cheers. It's he said, always remember that I have taken more out of alcohol than alcohol has taken out of me. Cheers to Mr. Churchill. And we're moving right along. Marissa, I got some hard science questions for you.
Super nervous. Let me get my
Are
thinking
you
cap
ready?
on. I'm ready.
Just a little background. Marissa is a verified real scientist in the world. It's provable. She went to high school with me and has been my friend for a super long time. She's one of the smartest people I know. So, you know, that we'll give her that. And then now we're going to tear her to pieces now that we've built her up.
Perfect.
No, these are softballs. No, I had this is kind of just a personal question about science for you. And
Sure.
I was just wondering, like, what fascinates you about science?
What I love about science is it's actually a quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson, which is something, I'm going to butcher it, but it's, science is true whether you believe it or not. So, you know,
That's a good
that
one.
I think, yeah. So that's my favorite thing about science is that it's not subjective, right? 2 + 2 isn't 5 just because you want it to be. It's 4,
Yeah.
whether you
And
like it, don't like it. So
that's actually perfect that you said that because it feeds into something else that I was going to say, which is that have you noticed, and without getting into the politics of COVID, like, have you noticed that with COVID, all of a sudden everybody's a fucking scientist, like
yes,
it's just the whole world is full of armchair scientists. And hey, I don't care what side you're on. There's a lot of scientists. There is something called bad science in the world. And there's a lot of scientists that are probably acting politically more than they're acting scientifically. And that bothers me. That bothers me a lot. And so, yeah, now that everyone is a scientist, it's like, well, I heard this or I feel this way. It's like, no, to your point, your feelings are not science. The science is
no,
what it is.
exactly.
So, and there's also this concept of settled science. Like what do you think about settled science? I mean, obviously, science is not settled ever. I mean, like you can establish a what you would call kind of like a what is it? It's kind of just like I'm trying to think of the word, but where you have a group of scientists that have like really strong proof. Okay, we think it's this way, right? So just tell
Sure,
me
sure.
what your opinion is about settled science.
Yeah, I mean, I think science can be settled for now, right?
Right.
I think that's the thing. Like science isn't settled, like period. Like we're going to stop thinking about this, right? Science is settled for right now, right? Like I think
Sure.
it's you like you're very smart and you're very smart. So let's think about this, and then with the tools that we have available to us right now, this is what we think. But science, there's never like a period, like because that's what a scientist is supposed to be. Like a scientist is supposed to have an inquisitive mind and never accept
Sure.
the status quo, right? Like you're
And
always
and
seeking.
and and the questioning is like basically part of the scientific method. So it's like
Exactly.
therefore, like if you stop questioning, you're not doing science, right? Is that
Yes.
fair?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And I always like to tell people, and we talked about how we're going to get into like theoretical physics and stuff on a surface level where brains
Mhm.
like mine can still keep up. But my point is that like Newton's laws worked really well for a really long time, and
Yep.
and to an extent they are true and they are settled. But then Einstein comes along and it's like, wait a second, but it's settled, but is it? Because all of a sudden there's different layers that he couldn't have understood. He didn't know. So all of a sudden you go, okay, well, and so now the question is of course, there's going to be an Einstein to Einstein, or perhaps there already has been to some extent. I mean, but so that's kind of the thing. I mean, if everyone just said, okay, Newton's laws work pretty well, it's settled. That's it. Then Einstein would have just wasted away in a patent office in Switzerland, right? I mean, like that would be a very sad thing, right? So along the lines of theoretical physics, it's kind of always fascinated me because I think it combines like two diametrically opposed kind of parts of the brain and like two different kinds of gifts, which I sort of in life I veer towards more what I would call bullshit. Some people would call it art and poetry and aesthetics, and I know that half the time it's just bullshit, but and that's coming from somebody who's a bullshit artist. Like I've done a lot of writing in life and screenwriting, poetry, and all this stuff. But to me, theoretical physics is like smashing poetry and mathematics together.
Mhm.
Uh, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to think outside the box, right? Like if you have to think of the abstract, like what if this random ass thing was actually true? Like that's what theory is. It's like I thought up this whack ass thing in my dream last night, but maybe it's true. I don't know. The science tells. So yeah, I totally agree. You can't stick to the status quo, especially in theoretical science. So I would
Yeah.
agree.
I got an equation for Chuck I want to share. Here's my equation. Let's see. Absinthe plus champagne equals drunk off my ass. There we go.
That's solid arithmetic.
Yeah, that's actually good. Did you check my equation?
Hmm.
Um,
Checks
so
out.
so I think it's really really interesting, and I know I like talk my ass off, and then I go, "Don't you agree?" So that's a terrible question. But here's a real question: what actually interests you the most right now? That's like on the edge of science that you think that could potentially change the world in the next, like in our lifetime?
Wow, that's a big one. Stephen Hawking was one of my favorite scientists ever. Um, and I don't know, then we start to get into like the metaphysical. So I don't know. I think it could revolutionize the way people think about things, but something that's really piqued my interest as of late. Um, and not to be like a Debbie Downer because I don't want to take it there, but like my friend recently passed away, like totally suddenly, completely unexpected, right? So it started to get me thinking about like, but where did you go, right? So science tells us that like matter is can't be created, can't be destroyed, it's just there, right? So like, so
Sure.
where did you go, right? So now we get into like the metaphysics of it, right? Like the quarks and the neutrons and protons, all of that they used to form her, like where is that now? So I think science is really Stephen Hawking and everybody were really starting to embark on this journey to try to figure that out, right? To try to, and that's theoretical stuff. Like, I don't know, like, are you dirt now? Are you, I don't know, did a bear eat you and now you're, so to me, that's what's really fascinating to me right now for personal reasons. And I think really that's the forefront of where science was going, theoretical relativity. So I think if we figure that out and time-space continuum and all of that.
Sure.
I think that could obviously be. Now I'm taking it way out there, but
no. I want to go out there. That's where I live out there. I live not on planet Earth. But while you were talking, I just demonstrated how to mix this drink. Now that I'm on my second death in the afternoon, I feel qualified to speak about death. And so it's very poignant and timely that you brought that up, because it's something that I've always thought about for my whole life. I mean, I'm not super religious, and I don't disrespect people that are, but my problem is I've never had anything to fill that void. And I basically, I was a philosophy major, and it's interesting because, scientists, this is a fact, they used to be called natural philosophers. So they were considered part of the philosophy wing of academics. They were just applying philosophy to the natural world, which was basically the role of the scientists. And so to your point, I mean, and I'm condolences on to the departed. And I have a friend who lost a father recently, and so we were talking about that, and he's super religious. So I mean, the last thing I'm going to do is be like, well, actually, I think your beliefs are complete crap. It's like, it's almost, when you get into that metaphysical, when you get beyond what we are able to prove with science, you get into the world of metaphor. You know what I mean? Where it's like we have to deal in metaphor because we just don't know, So and I think the most scientific thing you can do is to admit that you don't know, just to say, where am I now? And I might update my statement that before you ask a question, which is the beginning of the scientific method, or propose a theory or a hypothesis or whatever, you also have to state where you currently are. You have to accept that, look, I am coming from a position of ignorance, or you have to say, here's the status quo, here's what people believe, and here's the way we're going to question that, or the way we're going to challenge it. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I'm very interested by string theory. So I wanted to know, and you talk about space-time continuum and kind of to the non-nerds, I follow this stuff. I do. I love science. I just get lost when it gets into math. I'm terrible at math. So math is where I love theoretical physics so much, because I can use my kind of crazy brain to kind of in the way that Einstein could. Not that I'm Einstein by any means, but just basically take an abstract idea, but then try to fit it into a system that, to try to figure out what's going on. And so, the big TOE, the theory of everything, basically uniting general relativity and quantum physics, which is basically the holy grail of science, if I'm right.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you go back to these fundamental principles of matter, right? Matter can't be created, it can't be destroyed, right? All it can do is change form, right? So now it's solid, now it's energy and heat or light, now it's solid again. I mean, so I think there's something to this, right? So if you think about that, I'm not trying to infringe on anyone's beliefs, but if you think about these, it's like the ultimate recycling, right? Let's just repackage this and make it something else. So in that way, I think everything has to be connected. Everything has to be connected by some way, because energy and matter is just all changing forms. So everything is connected to some degree.
Absolutely.
I think there's different realities. I think there's crazy stuff.
And one of the things where it kind of, when you get into metaphysical, that's where I feel like I start to have some, I don't know, maybe some expertise, just because I was a philosophy major. And, if anything, philosophy walks right up to the edge of science and just it stands there and looks across the void and tries to basically create metaphors for the things that you guys are trying to prove. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's, to me, a lot of the existentialist philosophy was some of my favorite, because it was just standing at that void and just going what is this? How do we describe it from the perspective that we are capable of having? How much can you know about? The thing that always interested me is that like up till the moment you die, you're not dead. Like I think Heidegger said it's like your ultimate impossibility because you can never be and not be at the same time. So as soon as you're not, you no longer are. Obviously, that sounds elementary, but at the same time, as long as you're alive, you're not dead. So there's this border that just seems completely, it's impenetrable to our minds in a lot of ways. I want to take like 7 steps back from there, and because not everybody listening is drinking Death in the Afternoon, but how about this idea of human like progression? I kind of said like progression versus regression. I think like I want to ask you. I don't want to tell you what I think. I want to ask you. Do you think our gadgets and the internet are making us weaker and lazy and making our brains shrink? Thoughts?
So I'm going to take it a little bit bigger. I think humans kind of take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And you think about it, right? People that wear glasses, no offense to those that wear glasses, but like, is that making us weaker? Because like if we were in the wild, we'd be dead, right? Because we couldn't see, and so something would come along and kill us, right?
Sure.
But because humans are so smart, we've developed glasses. So now people that can't see don't have predators to fear, right? And they can see, now they are alive, but they're passing genes along, right, to their offspring, right? And so like me, I had cancer when I was 18. I should be dead, but instead I'm alive. And now here's my young child. Like, am I passing genes? This is adult stuff. Okay. Okay, bye.
Oh, hello. Look.
Here. I got very badly hurt. Okay, you'll be fine. Oh God. Okay. Love you. Okay, love you. So I mean, yeah. So I think that it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? So I think that humans make these advancements that progress us, right, as a species, but
Sure.
At what cost? So yeah. I mean, back to your question, I think it's great that we have these gadgets that do everything for me, but at what cost? I think that remains to be seen. I don't know, but I don't think it's good.
Well, and to your point, I mean, we're almost getting into like eugenics, where we could just go, no, we don't need medicine. We don't need medicine. Just let the weak die, and we'll be stronger for it thousands of years from now. There. Yeah, no. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's I find it just really fascinating. I mean, just from a personal example, when you were, because we grew up in the 80s, dating ourselves. But when you were like 10 years old, you probably could remember like 15 to 20 phone numbers. And now, sure. I mean, I can remember probably like mine, maybe like one of my friends. Like I'm under 5, right now. Just critical numbers, my bail bondsman, my crack dealer, my steady prostitute, male, of course.
Numbers to have. Good numbers
male
to
trains. Have. So I've got all that in my brain. So we've gone very long on the science talk. Silence. I'm gonna keep drinking my drink here. We went long on the science talk, but which is a good thing because that's what we wanted to talk about. But I wanted to ask you personally, do you have like a worst hangover ever in memory?
Yeah, this is the worst hangover ever. I was at a Christmas party. You might appreciate this. I was at a Christmas party at this bar, and I see that they have Whistle Pig, Boss Hog, right? And I'm like, let me get some of that. Let me get some of that meat. And the next thing I know, then I saw the Pappy. I was like, you have Pappy here? They're like, yes. And I was like, we're gonna need a flight of like, because they have like the 8-year, 10-year, 12, whatever.
Kid in a candy store.
Yeah, it was bad. It was so bad. So I don't remember how I got home. That all I know is that I spent the next like 16 hours at least on the ground by the toilet. I couldn't even get my head like anywhere past like here, and then I just got woozy and then just had to like immediately lie back down. And you know when you're so hungover that like you have to keep finding like the cold spot on the tile to like soothe you somehow. So I would like lay, it would get hot and then be like shit, and then I have to lay here because it was cold and soothing. I was a mess. It was glorious. The booze was glorious, but yeah, it was terrible afterwards. Wish I had some Intox-Detox then, but I didn't.
There you go. Thanks for the plug. But my bigger game was to talk about, like I'm fascinated by death, the theory of everything, string theory, relativity. But I'm also fascinated by the small and what's going on in our bodies, and like hangovers fascinate me because it's been a recurring theme in my life, like up to a point. I started a business based on it. But, I get a lot of people that are like, oh, you're full of shit and all this stuff. And a lot of times they're medical professionals. I mean, aren't doctors in theory supposed to be like part of the scientific community? Like, it at least in the sense that they practice sort of the end result of science, let's say, coming up with medications and treatments that are supposed to help people. And I mean, everything that I've done with my stuff has been based completely on science. Now, it brings in the topic of sort of like applied science, which I find fascinating, is like, because there's a lot of people in ivory towers that do science, and that's nothing against any of you scientific people. And a lot of you are way smarter than me. But if I take a little piece of a study that you did and I take it and I formulate an herbal thing that's using the theories or using, in our case, proven research, and we put it together, and and then to have nurses and doctors come up to me and go, "Oh, you're a snake oil salesman. You're full of shit." I mean, it's like, whoa, wait. Like, I'm like, I can show you these studies, and like, they're never interested. They don't want to see it. It's like,
really?
Well, that's not science. It's like basically they're like operating on the theory that when it comes to hangovers, there's settled science, right? There's not. Like, there's a ton of stuff that's happened in the last 50 years that, a lot of people just don't know about. But what I was going to say is I was going to give you another book recommendation, Proof, The Science of Booze. So that one's cool because it has one chapter about hangovers, but it's about fermentation. It's about the amazing science that happens so that this shit can be possible. Like, basically, I mean, if it weren't for yeast, I mean, like, bacteria can make alcohol, but not very well, and it tastes like shit. Like, if the only alcohol you had was from like basically acetic acid and that pathway, it's I mean, I like kombucha, okay, but it's just, if you drink enough to that to get drunk, you're gonna have a big stomach ache. That's not gonna be fun. But yeast is a complete genius, little organism. It's like. And so the funny thing, which is kind of a joke in the book, Proof, The Science of Booze, is that they joke, did we domesticate yeast, or did yeast domesticate humans? Because the yeast wants sugar, and we're like, hey, as long as you get us drunk, we'll keep giving you sugar, and you can mate and replicate like crazy. So anyway, it's a good book, and it actually focuses on the science of making alcohol. And then when you follow that through to the science of metabolizing alcohol, that's where you get to where you can start applying these sort of lessons to how you can make yourself feel better. So, obviously I develop products, I have skin in the game, but I mean, I legitimately have been in that situation you described, laying on the floor with my head, on the toilet bowl. Brian and Chuck, who both went to school with me, remember well from Slippery Rock. I probably spent a lot of time like that. I don't remember any of it, but I'm sure it happened. I haven't legitimately like puked from drinking in almost 7 years now, which, it doesn't mean I've stopped drinking a lot. Let's just put it that way. So, yeah. So, there's another great book that is a good read about hangovers that I recommend to people. It's cool because I kind of know this guy a little bit. We got to be sort of acquaintances, I'd say, like bromance, like a COVID Zoom bromance, if you will. Like we've never met in person. But he wrote a whole book about hangovers, and his solution is pretty much exactly the same as me. So it's really interesting. It's called Hungover, The Morning After, and One Man's Search for the Cure. It's by Shaughnessy Bishop Stall. I think his name, Shaughnessy Bishop Stall. Anyway, it's a good read. Check that out. Some of this stuff, we got pretty deep on the science, and we're running out of time. I want to do, are you good on time?
Me? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I got some sobering facts. I usually call it sobering facts.
Yeah, you have to do this.
That's what I do. Yeah, I need to get some camera movement.
Right.
So I'm gonna give you a choice, and we're calling this science faction, because this is science.
I like it.
Fiction, but faction. So pick a number 1 through 7, and I'll tell you a fascinating random science fact.
6.
Number 6. Did you know that one solar flare contains the energy of up to 100 megaton atomic bombs?
I did not. It's
Isn't
not
that crazy?
surprising, but that's nuts.
It's not surprising at all. Actually, I was surprised it was only 100.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool.
I bet you that's something that solar flares can vary in size. I'll bet you like quite substantially. So I bet you that could probably be like up to 10 times that. But to think like a human could produce something that would be like, 1/100th of a solar flare is kind of astounding, actually.
That's really cool.
All right, so you got 6. Give me another number 1 through 7 that's not 6.
3.
3. Oh, well, we already talked about it. It's kind of boring, too. Scientists were originally called natural philosophers. Yeah, I worked it in already.
You did.
I segued that already.
1.
Okay, another number.
1.
Yeah, 1. A human produces enough saliva in a lifetime to fill 2 swimming pools. 2. It's kind of weird, right? Ugh.
That's kind of subjective. I'm just curious, with like an Olympic-sized swimming pool. I mean, is there any Sorry, I'm not trying to blow up your fact.
Thinking the standard unit is the Olympic swimming pool, so that must be what they're going on. Because that's actually an international standard unit. I once heard. I think Steven Tyler said that Aerosmith did enough cocaine to fill a swimming pool. I wonder if he was talking about an Olympic swimming pool.
I agree with you. I think the Olympic swimming pool, I don't know if it's an official designation, but I think the Olympic is the unit of measure as far as swimming pools go. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, that's definitely non-political for sure. There's somebody that's like, no, it's not regulated. Okay. So I'm going to just read them off because I don't even remember which numbers you picked. There are more different possible chess game variations than atoms in the observable universe. It's true. So says some website I just searched on Google.
Yeah, that's totally legit. It's
got to be.
Totally legit.
If the internet says it, it's true.
Obviously.
This one is kind of weird. I think this is more of a theoretical that's not necessarily proven, but I think it's kind of fascinating. Phobias may be caused by memories passed down genetically from ancestors. Have you ever heard that before?
No, but what's interesting is that I like how you brought it back, because now I'm just going to go just a bit into the science. So your DNA, obviously you pass down, but there's epigenetics is the study of modifications on top of your DNA, right? So epigenetics is where it's at, seriously. And there has been a lot of research lately that shows that not only DNA is passed down, but that these epigenetic modifications can be passed down as well. So it lends a little credence to what you're saying. I don't know about phobias, and if my grandma was scared by a spider, do I have arachnophobia now? But it makes me think of epigenetics and how, more than we thought can be passed down. So interesting.
I think this And I also think that's a good segue into my last random sobering fact, which I always end with sex. That's always a good way to end anything, even a relationship, I found. But I wonder too if phobias are like fetishes. If you could literally like pass fetishes through your epigenetics, like my dad was into feet, so like I'm into feet. Like thanks, Dad. Like that's whatever. So here's a list. Here's a list of bizarre fetishes, which are known in the medical community as paraphilias. They're truly staggering, and I have to say, I was staggered when I read them before. Autoplushophilia is the arousal at oneself dressed as a giant cartoon-like stuffed animal.
Yeah, so these are like furries. There's a whole community.
Oh my God, this is
You
that's
know
a
this,
thing?
right? Oh my
No.
God, yeah, Andy, it's totally a thing. They're called furries. There's a whole community. When I was traveling for work, I was, just at a hotel in like Philly or somewhere, and all of a sudden, all these people started showing up, and they in these like cost. Yeah, it's a thing. It's totally a thing.
I don't know. I don't know about that one. I mean, it's like, what is it? I always say that I can't so I have this thing where I've always wanted to do like stand-up comedy. And my whole problem is I should have done it like in the 70s or 80s, because now like I would be canceled right away, because a lot of my jokes are about bestiality, so like it's just not because I like that, because I think it's like absurdly comical that anybody would want to bang an animal. And to me, it's even more comical. It's even more comical that someone would want to bang a human dressed as an animal. Like, because it's like, do you really want the animal, or like, what is it about the human in a costume that makes you aroused? I don't understand that. I mean, like, hey, Marissa, you're mildly attractive, but you'd be a hell of a lot better if you would put on that squirrel costume.
Right.
Because in my heart, I really want to fuck a squirrel, but you're here now. You know what I mean? Like, that's just bizarre.
That's what's super interesting though. Like, I totally agree with you. Like, I'm curious. Like, I'm genuinely curious. Like, what is going on that this is like your thing? Like, I want to understand. Like, and even feet or anything. Like, no judgment. I'm genuinely curious. Like, what is it about feet that like gets you going? Like, is it the shape? Is it the scent? Like, I'm always trying to learn more, right? Like, I genuinely want to know. Yeah. Do you like to touch the fur? Is it the fur against your skin? Like, it's an interesting question.
Yeah, so I've got more. So hold on. There's also autonepophilia, autonepophilia, which is arousal at oneself in the form of an infant.
What? Did
I
you mean
know.
pedophilia? Is that what you meant to say?
No, but this is arousal at seeing yourself as an infant. So like you're attracted to yourself as an infant. I don't even understand what it's like. What?
Right. I'm trying. My mind is like these circular.
Okay. Honestly, Marissa, we're all busy people. Who has the fucking time to think, hey, I want to bang myself as a baby? Like, ridiculous.
Not me.
Nobody has that kind of time. If you have kids, you're not doing this kind of shit. I promise you. There's no time. No time.
There's no time.
Let's see. How about lithophilia? Lithophilia. Arousal at stone and gravel. Because, yeah, when you're naked, you want stone and gravel around your body. I mean, come on.
No.
Is anyone aroused by gravel?
This is another thing too. Like, I'm curious. Now here my children are, speaking of children. I'm curious, is it the sight of the stone? Is it rubbing this? Is it the texture of the stone? Like, what is it about the stone? Because I feel like to some degree, like these fetishes that people have are things that maybe they're lacking, but I don't get stone. I don't get stones. But
To
each
I know
their
you got
own.
to go. I know you got to go. I wanted to get all those great weird sexual fetishes in.
Wanted to make sure we covered all of those.
Yeah, we got to cover because we got to cover all the important science. But I got the last toast, so let's finish out. We'll do the last toast, and then if you want, after I'll keep you on. We could talk later. So anyone that's got a drink, go ahead. We got one more toast for you. I think this toast is timely. So put your thinking cap on. Put your heart balls in your hand. You know, all that stuff. So here it is. It's an Abraham Lincoln quote, and let's all take it to heart as best we can. I am a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts and beer. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Thank you guys for watching. We got more awesome guests coming up. Thank you, Marissa, for hanging out.
Thank you.
Any last words for the people about science and bunny suits?
About science and bunny suits. Science is a real thing. Embrace it. Love it. It's pretty cool. It brings you alcohol.
Brings you alcohol, which is also a real thing. Embrace it and love it. And thanks, guys, for watching. And Chuck and Brian for commenting. I appreciate that a lot. And everybody else, I'll see you soon. Stay #LiverStrong. You're the best. Love you. Bye.